Hello, do you have thoughts on Fred Hoiberg saying a swear word? Nope. All right, fine. I'm Levi Stevenson, and I'm going to tell you about the 2013-2014 Iowa State Cyclones. All right, so the deal here. I'm dying right now. I've had so much goddamn wine. All right, I don't know why I'm looking at Ken Palm. That's gonna be I'm not gonna be able to fucking read this thing. So up until this point, so Fred Hoiberg was the coach. Up until this point, I would say was generally thought of as a basketball school, but had some bad runs with a couple coaches. Larry Eustacia got fired, all this, and then you had Wayne Morgan, who could kind of recruit but couldn't really coach. But then you had Greg McDermott came in, was famously terrible at that job. Couldn't coach his way out of a paper bag, which is funny because he was really good at UNI before that, and he's been really good at Creighton since. Just for whatever reason, I don't know. I don't know why I took more wine. I don't need more wine. So, so we get going, and Fred, up to this point, has absolutely pillaged the transfer market in a way that nobody else has ever done it before. Quite to the point where he quite literally changed the game of how basketball is, how rosters are formed in college basketball now, where it's not just freshmen, but transfers are such a huge part. Fred Hoiberg pioneered that at Iowa State because he went from, a team in Greg McDermott's last year, which I believe was 2009, 2010. I think.
If you say it's fact.
Sure. We're gonna say some facts here at the end of the goddamn show. The daggum show.
More wine.
Wine. Anyways, Fred Hoiberg comes in and actually does all right with the roster. He goes 16-16, which is really, technically only one game better, but was very clearly an improved team. And then 12-13 was the first year of George Niang too. Tyrus McGee, Chris Babbs, really, really good players. Don't pronounce the S on there, bud. Don't pronounce the S on there, bud. If you pronounce the S on there, God will smite you. For real. So then we've been building and building. You get to 13-14, and you've got Melvin Edgem, who is a senior this time, one of the better rebounders the Big 12 has ever seen. He's really, really good. George Niang's a sophomore. Dustin Hogue is an incoming transfer. And then you also have a yet unknown freshman named Monte Morris. You have Naz Long, who's a freshman in there. You got some really nice players that just kind of started showing up in the season. But kind of the big dog here was DeAndre Kane. He was a transfer point guard from Marshall. We are not Marshall because we're Iowa. That was far too literal to be funny, but that's okay. Wine. Started out 14-0. I mean, they were ranked really, really high. I can't remember exactly how high they were ranked because I'm far too intoxicated to remember. So then they got going, and then unfortunately kind of lost 3 in a row. You had Oklahoma, Kansas, and Texas right in a row. 3 good teams. It kind of is what it is. But we go to Kansas State, get a win. We end up losing to Kansas again. I don't know. So a couple games later, you're at Oklahoma State. At this point in time, Iowa State has not won at Oklahoma State in a very long time. It's been like 15 years or some shit. They played tough throughout the game, and Oklahoma State's pretty good this year. They've got Marcus Smart, they've got Markel Brown, LeBron Nash, really good team. It goes into overtime, and I believe it's in the second overtime. Naz Long hits maybe the biggest shot of his entire career and just buckets a 3 to tie it up. And then eventually Monte Morris hit a really big 3 in the corner as well. And Iowa State gets its first win at Oklahoma State in a very, very long time. So then you go to TCU at home. TCU back then was still not very good. But Melvin Edgem set the Big 12 scoring record with 48 points. And he also tacked on just a cool 18 rebounds against TCU. 18 of 22 from the floor, 2 of 2 from 3. I mean, pretty much just about the best possible game you could have as a small forward / power forward in the Big 12. And the red wine's gone. And that is 2 whole ass bottles of wine I've gone through. He's got the Slipknot whiskey. Man, I appreciate that. Good shit. That was a good game. It didn't really end up meaning anything in the like the greater because TCU sucked, so it didn't really matter. So, anyways, you get going, and then you go to West Virginia. They get fucking blasted. I remember watching that. Iowa State got blasted that night, and I did too. At Estas Bar and Grill in Ames. Shout out to Estas, best tacos, maybe on planet Earth. Fucking, what are we talking about? Basketball. Anyways, yeah, and they have a couple shit losses. Baylor always has a number at their place, and then the tied for first greatest moment of Naslong's career comes against Oklahoma State on senior night. And Iowa State is down 3 with like 6 seconds left or something like that. And Phil Forte, who is like a 93% free throw shooter, misses a free throw. DeAndre King corrals the rebound, goes up the floor, dishes it over to them, and just chucks it and banks in a 3 at the buzzer. And if you remember Waterboy, when he's like rubbing his nipples at the end of the movie, and you're like, he's like one of these, like every Iowa State fan in the building was rubbing their nipples. Like it was pure euphoria. It was like someone dropped a bomb from the ceiling and it was just covered in ecstasy. That's all it was. Just a big ecstasy bomb. Like they were running it through the vents at Hilton Coliseum. We ended up winning that game in overtime by 4 points. It was dope. Go to 23-7 on the season. It's like a Swiss Army knife, this fucking corkscrew. It's ridiculous. We're going to the Big 12 tournament. And if nobody knows, Iowa State owns the fucking Big 12 tournament. That is our shit. We go there, we beat Kansas State, we beat Kansas, we go to the championship game, we fucking beat Baylor. Fucking Baylor. And we go to beat Baylor in the Big 12 championship. We win the Big 12 tournament. It was amazing. And we get to the tournament now. So now you're the automatic qualifier of the NCAA tournament. And you end up, I'm trying to remember what seed Iowa State was. Like a 4 seed or some shit. We're playing North Carolina Central in the first round. North Carolina Central's kind of a sneaky mid-major. One of those that could upset somebody. Ended up not being an issue, 93-75. But George Niang breaks his foot against North Carolina Central.
George's.
Did you say George's?
No.
You said George's, you silly fuck. I heard the S on the end of it.
Come out here, this corkscrew.
Wait, hold on. Ow, I fucking pinched my skin. Fucking hurt. I'm fucking bleeding now, you fuck. All right. Son of a bitch, dude. Look at, like, I'm fucking bleeding from a podcast. Anyways, so so we got to play North Carolina, and they're doing pretty well, honestly, without George, because George can't play because he broke his foot. And DeAndre Kane hits a buzzer-beating layup to beat North Carolina. Really great win. And then comes UConn and Shabazz Napier. Now, we were talking about before that whatever I said is truth. Does that still hold? That still hold?
Always.
Whatever I say is truth. Because Iowa State ended up losing to UConn, the eventual national champion. But had George Niang not broken his foot, Iowa State would have beaten UConn, would have beaten all of the successive opponents. Iowa State was a better team, and the rest of that bracket was not difficult. Michigan State, we would have beat Michigan State. Florida is not really an issue too much. And then they played Kentucky that had like Julius Randle and the really, really underseeded Kentucky. Iowa State would have beaten Michigan State, Florida, and Kentucky. No problem. That season will always go down as what if for a bunch of different reasons. The what if is, the first what if is what if you have Doug McDermott, Royce White stays, you have Harrison Barnes, you have all that. Then you're talking about you're legitimately talking about one of the greatest college basketball teams ever created. But now you're talking about what if George Niang doesn't break his foot? Incontestable truth. If George Niang doesn't break his foot, Iowa State is the 2014 national champion. Hi, I'm Levi Stevenson. You're watching Disney Channel. Of all the good three-point shooters that have been, I would say Matt Thomas, Jake Sullivan, Jeff Hornacek. Lots of good three-point shooters at Iowa State. Deontay Burton, of all people, goes 7 of 9 from 3. And
it's Pat scratching his back.
Yeah, I'm going to do it with a corkscrew.
Yeah.
Bleeding down your back next.
You're going to be bleeding.
That's fine. It isn't a good podcast if you didn't draw a little blood.